The Atlas Post. It's past the first of the month, and people thought they were safe from evictions, but they're finding out, well, maybe they aren't. We want to go ahead and show you some of the things that are going around the U.S. because landlords in Tampa Bay are filing evictions despite the governor prohibiting them. So most of you will remember that, well, we thought that everybody was safe from rent, mortgage, didn't have to worry about it during the COVID-19 or pandemic from the coronavirus. So why is this happening? Well, here's the good part is the courthouses are closed. Or actually, this is why it's happening. Some landlords say they are filing evictions to be first in line when the moratoriums are listed. But some attorneys say that even filing for eviction right now is against the law. So right now they're shocked by the number of filings that are happening. But here's what tenants don't understand is the governor has ordered a stop to all evictions, but that protection runs out May 15th. And that's why so many landlords are filing now, so they are ready to evict soon. So this is what's happening in Tampa, Florida. In Colorado, this will give you an idea. Here you see the headlines. When coronavirus eases up in Colorado, 450,000 renters could face eviction, the study says. And that's because what's going on in Colorado? Well, I guess renters aren't paying. Evictions are still happening. Just ask the state of Colorado. In fact, an activist group put them on the door of the governor's residence. So in Colorado, Arapahoe County Sheriff Tyler Brown said his deputies are not currently evicting tenants, adding it is a very low priority for his deputies. So he also agrees with the governor, calls for law enforcement to not actively prioritize evictions at this time. So even though they're filing for evictions, well, that's the other part is they are not enforcing them. There is no need to force them out of the residences to somewhere where they are not able to isolate themselves, where that evictions will not help but instead contribute to the COVID-19 crisis. In New Orleans, flyers are popping up in a few neighborhoods urging tenants to bleed the landlords dry and go on a rent strike. Now that is one of the reasons I could see a bunch of landlords getting upset, because I have heard here in California of people saying, well, if they can't kick us out, we can have free rent and we'll take the money that we're getting from unemployment and then not pay rent and then leave. So some of the landlords, well, as you can see, they're crying foul. So there are good landlords and there are bad landlords. There are good tenants and there are bad tenants. But also don't take this time to go ahead and take advantage of the situation. Although, I guess both will on either side because, well, I guess it's just human nature. But here's part of it is that federal and local governments have taken strong steps to protect tenants who can't pay rent during the coronavirus pandemic, including an all-out ban on evictions in New Orleans through May 18th, and a federal ban that applies to all government-financed or subsidized units through July. Now, this is the part I want you to notice. A federal ban that applies to all government-financed or subsidized units through July. So, how do you know if where you are is government-financed? We're going to get to that in just a few minutes. They urge landlords to seek help from the police using the eviction bans, and landlords say has helped at all. Even the police not arresting people for certain things still don't want to bring them to the coronavirus. If you remember following the news, they're letting because they were concerned with the virus. So now, in California, Governor Newsom takes eviction action to establish a statewide moratorium on evictions. But I do want you to note one thing on here is the order prohibits landlords from evicting tenants for non-payment of rent and prohibits enforcement of evictions by law enforcement or courts. It also requires tenants to declare in writing no more than 7 days after the rent comes due that the tenant cannot pay all or part of their rent due to COVID-19. So today is May 4th. And this is in California. It says 7 days. I don't know what it is like where you are, but give your landlord notice if that's what you are intending to do. And also, I have heard of people that have negotiated with their landlord because of all of this to get a lower rent by giving them the money. This is from the Congressional Research Service. This is a CARES Act eviction moratorium, and this is the actual verbiage about it. Instead of just saying, well, they can't do this, they can't do this. They're all going to go back to what the federal mandate is, then they're going to go what's in the state, and then locally, it's actually what they end up enforcing. And the CARES Act, Section 4024B, prohibits landlords of certain rental covered dwellings from initiating proceedings or charging fees, penalties, or other charges against a tenant for the non-payment of rent. I want you to notice it says also fees and penalties or other charges. I have heard where people are charging late fees of up to 1/3 of the cost of rent for people that aren't paying on time. Section 4024C requires landlords of the same properties to provide tenants at least 30 days notice before they must vacate the property. It also bars landlords from issuing a notice to vacate during the 120-day period. In contrast to the eviction and late fee protections of Section 4024B, which are expressly limited to non-payment, Section 4024C does not expressly tie the notice to vacate requirement of a particular cause. What properties are actually covered when it comes to the CARES Act? So the CARES Act eviction protections apply only to covered dwellings, which are rental units and properties that participate in federal assistance programs, 2 are subject to federally backed mortgage loan, or 3 are subject to federally backed multifamily mortgage loan. So covered federal assistance programs include most rental assistance and housing grant programs, including public housing, housing choice vouchers, Section 8, project-based rental assistance, rural housing programs, and the low-income housing tax credits. But a federally backed mortgage loan is a single-family 1.1 to 4 units residential mortgage owned or securitized by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, or insured, guaranteed, or otherwise assisted by the federal government. That's when you hear that they have a loan by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. The term also includes mortgages insured by the Federal Housing Administration, FHA, and the Department of Veterans Affairs and the Department of Agriculture's direct and guaranteed loans.